Hi! Today I wanted to see if I could talk to you guys about PMDD. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. April is PMDD Awareness Month, which I found out recently. I have PMDD and it's awesome. I'm currently going through the end of my symptoms, I guess, which means that they're usually the highest. I know that there are a lot of people out there who suffer through this, and it isn't as well known as it should be. Even some medical professionals don't know what PMDD is still, and a lot of people go undiagnosed because the symptoms tend to be very similar to that of bipolar disorder, from what I'm aware of. So in this video, I'm just going to be talking about my personal experience living with PMDD. My symptoms that affect me the most, and how I cope. So first I want to say that I started developing symptoms that I was aware that I was developing symptoms at around 23. I basically researched everything I was going through, and that's how I discovered that. And I charted my cycle because PMDD is built around your menstrual cycle. Basically, from ovulation to right before you're gonna bleed is when you will be experiencing PMDD symptoms, and they will alleviate as you actually menstruate. That's basically basically how you would even know you have PMDD is by tracking your cycle and tracking your moods, because it's not just PMS. There's a lot that goes into it. And from what I've researched and from my own personal experience, it gets worse with age. I will say that if you are dealing with anything like depression or anxiety, or if you have suicide ideation, something like that, this could be a triggering topic, because unfortunately, in my experience, PMDD is kind of a dark subject. It can be. For those who deal with it, it is not great experience. So I'm sorry if this upsets anyone, because I will be talking just from a human's point of view, a human who lives with this. So yeah. Here are some of the symptoms of PMDD. We have feelings of sadness or despair, or even thoughts of suicide, feelings of tension or anxiety, panic attacks, mood swings, frequent crying, lasting irritability or anger, lack of interest in daily activities and relationships, trouble thinking or focusing, tiredness or low energy, food cravings or binge eating, trouble sleeping or extreme fatigue, feeling out of control, bloating, breast tenderness, headaches, joint and muscle pains, etc., etc. There's more symptoms, but they're kind of like, to me, they become like nuances after a while, like more of the same, more or less, just basically you're uncomfortable, in pain, and all that. So for me personally, the symptoms that I experience the strongest are uncontrollable rage and extreme irritability, and suicide ideation when it gets the worst for me. I do get fatigue, and I do lose spinning my hair the whole time. I do get fatigue, and I do lose interest in things that I've always liked. I have trouble kind of staying out of my own head when it gets bad. Negative thoughts run rampant, like constant almost. It's kind of insane. It is like, it's insanity. I don't know what PMDD is, but they classified, I think, as a mental illness now. It used to be a mood disorder. But I personally think of it as both a mood disorder and a mental illness, I guess. How it works is, or at least for me personally, as I track my cycle, my symptoms are the highest right around ovulation, like that whole week, and then it'll be okay for a while, and then a few days before my period, about 5 to 7 days before my period, I will increasingly my symptoms will increase day by day. The way I act and feel during this time is a complete, like, 180 out of body experience. I don't identify myself with the person that I am during those times. Even though I try to take responsibility for how I act during those times, it's really hard for me because it's just, I'm not there. There's no way I'm there controlling what I'm doing and what I'm feeling. And it's really hard for myself and my loved ones to understand that this is every single month I'm going to feel this way, potentially. I don't like to speak in absolutes, but I'm trying to be realistic with myself because there are months where symptoms aren't that high. There are months where you feel like you're not going to make it. It's just, to me, it's really inconsistent, and the only thing you can do is kind of stay on track of your moods and you keep track of your moods and your symptoms, your whole calendar, because, tracking my moods personally has been a great outlet for me. Tracking when I know I'm going to be experiencing symptoms potentially, because then I know, okay, this is not me. Like, all of a sudden I don't feel confident. Like, I think it's really important to track moods in your calendar because, these things sneak up on you. In my personal experience, they come out of nowhere and all of a sudden you're a whole different person. And for me personally, I feel like a monster. I act like a monster, and it doesn't make me happy. And the worst thing is that as hard as it is to control, I know that eventually I will feel better. And then I had to live with how I acted, and it took me a while to really find a system that works for me, how to cope with it, and I have now, and it hasn't been easy to implement because a lot of it was me being in denial, I guess, and trying to do it on my own, basically without medication, which I take now, I guess. I consider it medication. It's definitely holistic. I take CBD tinctures. This is my favorite brand in particular. It's Care by Design, an 18-to-1 tincture, which means basically that it's 18 parts CBD to 1 THC. You can kind of see, maybe you can kind of see on the side here. Yeah. So it's mostly CBD. This is not gonna get you high or mess with your brain like that. You'll still be fully functional. I personally do not like THC. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't like anything like that. So I don't take medicine. I don't have like a Advil or Tylenol and stuff like that. The only medicines I usually take are like Benadryl and Claritin, usually children's forms, because I just don't like things that affect your brain or like make you reliant. So even taking this was hard for me at first because, one, I had to admit that I needed it, and two, I was afraid that I would be a different person, which I think a lot of people who have some mental issues, like they take the medication and they find that they're not themselves anymore, and I find, because I've experimented a lot with different products, I find personally that definitely anything with too much THC for me is a no-go, and some people can't have it at all because, even though it's subtle, it's still an hallucinogen, and some people are more sensitive to it than others. I'm personally one of those people. So I'd rather have as little of it as I can, though I do know that there's science that proves that THC and CBD do work well together. So there is, like I said, there is some in there, but it won't make me, it's not psychoactive, basically. This is, so basically this is essentially coconut oil, which is the carrier oil, and it's cannabis oil, and then the terpenes. The terpenes are basically what's in the CBD that make it work. Like, terpenes can be found in, like, I think mint and pine and lavender, which is not a coincidence that some of those things can help reduce anxiety. I'll just show you what it looks like for me. It's a little dropper, and it's labeled on the side. It has 0.25, 0.50, and 0.75 milliliters. On a normal, so when I'm looking at my calendar, and it's the time when I'm about to be fertile, I start taking this. I'm about to be fertile. When I'm about to start ovulating, I start taking this. So what I'll do is you have to shake it first, and then I'll take 0.50 milliliters, and I'll take it around the same time every morning. And you drop it under your tongue, and you let it sit there for like 60 seconds. I usually do 90 because I'm dramatic. And so I do that every single morning, no matter what, until my cycle comes. And sometimes I will do it during the first 2 days of my cycle, and then 2 days after, because sometimes I will still be feeling kind of off. Um, I have gone without taking medication because I couldn't afford it, and I thought it would be fine, blah blah blah. Even when I do have medication, I don't always take it because I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm fine, blah blah blah, I'll be okay. But that's basically like when you're asymptomatic. I'm not showing any PMD symptoms. I feel good, but then all of a sudden, I'll watch a movie or somebody will say something and it will trigger me, and I will completely spiral like out of control. And it always takes me by surprise because I'm like, I was fine. So what I've come to realize is that basically no matter what, I need to take medicine at least 10 days. Like, that's kind of how it seems to be for me. About 10 to 12 days out of the month, I need to take this. I do not take my tincture. Sorry, there's a gnat in here. I take my tincture every day because I don't need it every day. I just need it every day of, I think it's a luteal phase. Every day from ovulation to when I'm about to bleed, and then a couple days after that, I need to take my medication. I call it medication because it just helps me identify it as that. Then I know it's not like, oh, to help me relax, to help me feel good. No, it's to help me keep my brain in check so that I don't make really terrible decisions or, ruin my own life and things like that. There's just another thing I do want to add is that I have lived alone mostly since having PMDD, since discovering it and then watching my symptoms roll out of control. I mean, the people who are closest to me know about it, but there are other people that I haven't talked to in a long time. Like, it kind of makes me afraid to go back to that. Even going home, my mom knows, my sister knows, and it's just that they haven't actually seen it happen. My mom has heard it, definitely. Like, she knows what it could be like, but I'm scared for them to see me go out of control. I don't like losing control because I'm a Capricorn. I am a control freak. But that's something I'm working on. I just wanted to share just in case someone else might be like, oh, I don't want anyone to see me like this. I understand how that feels. I mean, why would anyone want to be seen like this? I mean, I'm not judging. I'm just saying. It took me a while to, because I had this for so many years, and I'm 29 now, um, it took me a while to not identify having PMDD as part of my personality. And it's taking me longer to get people who are close to me to know about me too. That this behavior is not indicative of the type of person that I am. When I act out when I'm having an episode, that's not me. That's a sickness that I'm having a hard time managing. And I tell myself this because I'll be like, oh wow, I'm so this, I'm so that. Like, why am I like, wow, like, and it's not, because when you settle, when you calm, you have to try to remember that's you. That is your normal state. It's called eurythmia. It's like your baseline, and it's not a coincidence that my business name is Eurythmic. It's part of the meaning of my shop name. I still have a hard time talking about my symptoms and how I really act during that time because it's really painful. I don't like to go there, but I just hope that whoever's watching this, if they have similar experiences, they know that eventually it'll pass. That's what I have to tell myself all the time. And it's true. I'm not lying to myself. It will go away. I will get back to center, and I have help if I need it. Other than medication, sticking to a very tight schedule could probably help someone with PMDD. I have a very strict schedule. It is very loose, which is complete contradiction, but it is a very strict, loose schedule because I'm an artist. I will talk about my schedule in another video because I think it's honestly made my life really successful, personally, internally. But basically, I can do whatever I want every day. But there are certain things that have to be done every day, and there are certain things I can't do for longer than a certain amount of time. So it's a weird schedule, but it works really well for me. It's color coordinated. I write down everything I do, and stuff like that just helps my brain. Going on long walks helps me. obviously art is like the thing I do the most, but when my PMDD becomes rage, I cannot do art. It's really hard for me to sit still. I get really like in my body. So basically working out and going on walks and like singing actually helps a lot, helps me feel better. So I do that. What I do try to do is not to engage. So if I have to take moments away to be by myself or like turn everything off, I have to do that. You know, if I'm out in public and I have to go home, I have to go home. You know, I also there are a lot of strange things I need to do when I go out in public when I have symptoms. Is like I like to be around nature. That's not strange, but like I live in the city, so that's not really an option. And especially not right now with quarantine, I can't even go to the beach anymore. But I like to touch plants, leaves. I call it like touching their hands. That helps me feel center, you know. So I like to do things like that. I take off my shoes, you know. I take lots of showers and baths. In fact, there's really great CBD bath salts out there. Um, I forgot what they're called. Oh, they're called Om. So yeah, so there's this brand called Om, like Om Body, OMBODY, and they make these really nice CBD bath salts. They're fantastic. So I really like using those. Basically, yeah, hot water and lots of music and lots of walking really help with my symptoms. I'm also really grateful to my mom because she lets me call her and I'll just leave 1,000 voicemails to get whatever I'm feeling out. I don't like to rely on this too much anymore because something I had to learn the hard way was that just because I know that these feelings are fake and I'm just saying them, you know, it's still real negativity going into the air, you know. So I have to be careful how much I say to him, to whoever, in a given period of time. Like I can't just be releasing negative energy just because it's not real. It is gonna go away soon, you know. So I try to channel it into different ways now. It's a work in progress. It's definitely difficult, but you know, trying is what's important, and your state of mind, knowing that you want to, is really it's really good. Basically, I just remind myself, you know, how I feel, you know, is real. A lot of my personal PMDD uh, trauma, a lot of my moods from PMDD that come up are based on real events. You know, something will have really happened to me, and it will be something that have hurt me. And on a normal day, I'll be like, that sucks. On a PMDD day, it's the worst ever. It's the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to me. And then I'll just spiral thinking about every bad thing that's ever happened. It's really exhausting and annoying, but I don't know. I think that for me, the hardest thing about having PMDD is that I also have PTSD from past trauma when I was a child. So if I get triggered during a PMDD cycle, it really sucks because it's even harder to control than like a regular like bad day, you know. That's something that I'm just recently kind of dealing with and hoping to get managed soon. I mean, I'm on the right path. It's just that it's just a process of taking time and acknowledging every time and really strengthening your mental health to where you can remove yourself from these situations and not engage. Because me, I'm a big engager. When I'm when my flight or fight clicks in, I instantly fight. You know, that's kind of like a blessing and a curse, to be honest. Well, anyways, yeah, I hope that hearing me talk about my experience brings some comfort. Maybe you don't feel like you have to deal with this alone, or maybe you never knew about PMDD and now you want to go research it more. I'm going to link links and resources in the description of sites that I used when I first found out about it. I will say, and I think this is super important for people who, I don't know, I just think it's important. There are a lot of people out there who have this, who will talk about their personal experiences and how bad it's getting, kind of like how I did a while ago. I think that can be very dangerous to read a bunch of people's experiences with this illness, because it's just dark. You know, it's mostly pity, and I don't like that. You know, I don't like to surround myself with that. I think finding that out that other people have it is important. I think hearing other people's experiences are important, but with a grain of salt, within reason. It's not worth getting obsessed over. We are only looking for information so that we can better ourselves, not so we can live in this current state, in this present, or live in the past. I think those are dangerous things to do, and I think we should always, as people, be trying to move forward and take care of ourselves. I'm saying this for myself, it's a constant reminder because I'm obsessed with the past and, why and why and why, and it's not important anymore. That's what I try to tell myself, I want to know what's new, what's fresh, unexplored things, because I'm more hopeful about the future. Anyway, yeah, so check out those resources. Thanks for listening, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer them. Bye.